Welcome back to Metal Gear Solid, a Hideo Kojima game. Yeah, starting with this one. In this one, the Hideo Kojima game thing doesn't show up until on the cover until the second game, but it does show up in the credits of this one still. But anyway, again, much like Francis Ford Coppola puts his name on his Godfather movies. So there you go. And so now we're going to start the game proper. So there you go. Here's the Shadow. Welcome to Shadow Moses Island.
Hi.
Hey, Snake. Alright, so I will talk about some aspects about how I'm recording this, but we're going to have a codec cutscene in a moment, so I'll wait a bit.
I'm going to swat down a couple of bothersome flies.
Oh, look at that. Who could it be? That's Liquid Snake right there. But basically, Shiroi, the voice that I was giving Krellian in our Xenogears run by Teo's request was my Liquid Snake voice, since they're voiced by the same actor, and Krellian has a lot of Liquid Snake energy, as you'll see eventually. So.
Snake is
Let's do it.
Codec.
Alright, so Shiroi, but I'm guessing even you, of course, are familiar with the iconic codec cutscenes.
Yes.
So there you go.
Loud and clear.
In this game, we actually digitize the 2D artwork. Starting with the next one, we use 3D models.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Smash chose to go back to these because classic.
Yep.
If you need to, contact me by codec.
I'll admit, part of me does kind of prefer them this way as opposed to the 3D model stuff. Not
It
to say
also helps to reinforce the less realistic aspect and more making akin to a proper sci-fi anime.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was most likely done more out of getting around the PS1 limitations rather than anything. Because remember, when you take a look at because when you take a look at the actual character models in this game, they have no facial features. Like because remember, the PS1 wasn't still not quite capable of realistic human ability. Like you could do it when it's a cartoony game, when they're exaggerated and stuff like that. But trying to do replicate live action facial features, that takes a different kind of processing power.
The name of the artwork.
I'm emulating the game, and for the sake of streamlining my recording process, I also use cheats to give myself the stealth camo and the bandana. What do those items do? They're items that are given to you in New Game Plus. The stealth camo makes you invisible, and the bandana gives you infinite ammo, basically.
Pretty much a guaranteed easy mode.
Basically, but remember, this is actually stuff from the actual game. It unlocks as a New Game Plus bonus thing. But anyway, I'm recording this via emulation, and for those in the audience who might also be familiar with emulation as much as I am, you're wondering why aren't you upscaling the game's resolution? Well, thing is, when you play Metal Gear Solid 2, the PS1 version specifically, and you try to increase the resolution, it causes some graphical glitches that were not present in the original hardware. So in order to keep the playthrough as accurate as possible, I'm keeping the resolution intact. Normally, when you upgrade the resolution on the PS1 game, it's fine and makes the game look legit better than on original hardware. But this game in particular clearly was not made with higher resolutions in mind, and as a result, when you try to force the resolution to be higher, the game kind of freaks out a bit. So
luckily, we have a remake to settle that.
Hopefully.
Well, we kind of technically already.
Okay, true. We had Twin Snakes, but we'll talk about Twin Snakes in due time. Okay, so Metal Gear Solid is a stealth espionage action game, and here's the interesting thing: it's literally a 3D exact translation of the previous game, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. In the same way that Super Mario 3D World is a literal translation of the 2D Mario games into 3D, this game kind of takes that same approach to its design. It literally because like we've talked about in our playthrough, the gameplay was already. Oh, go on. Yes, Colonel.
Snake, there's an elevator there you can take up to the ground. You'll just have to wait for the elevator to come down. You better hide somewhere.
It's ironic, even though this particular art style was made as a means to get around limitations, it would be this art style that was considered the more definitive means of codec calls rather than the actual 3D models used in Metal Gear
For example,
Solid 2.
this particular obstacle that I'm hiding behind right now, when you go into a close up like I just did or now, if it's a high resolution, that thing will be all pixelated. Just to give you an idea. So basically, we're playing the game in its original intended resolution for the sake of avoiding any inaccurate graphical glitches.
Anyway, I found it. The main person behind the artworks for the entire series, basically,
Yoshi Shinkawa.
Yoshi Shinkawa, an absolute great artist when it comes to these
Shinkawa is an absolute master of his craft.
He has already worked for Konami and Kojima with Police Notes 4 years before this game, but starting with this, he basically stick around with most of the franchise. Oh, there we go.
Did you do that just to show off the music?
Let's see.
And probably the game over screen.
Yeah, so you can expect a lot of depths in this part. Very.
As for the composer, for this first game, there's like a lot of them. None of them that I can particularly remember, like Kazuki Muraoka, Hiroki Togo. Needless to say, both the soundtrack of this game is also legendary.
Oh yeah. All right. Speaking of, fuck.
Did you just want to stand in the corner for a little bit?
Yes, I think about what you've done.
I'm in evasion time. Okay, there we go.
Bye.
Okay, again, the the game will start explaining its tutorial aspects right now, so I'll wait for the game to do it. There you go. And there you go. Artwork directed by Yoshi Shinkawa. So yeah, not only does he do the character designs, he also does the art direction, and he still does the exact same things for Hideo Kojima because he works at Kojima Productions still to this day. Basically, while Kojima doesn't have a composer buddy necessarily that's stuck with him to this day, Yoshi Shinkawa is his artist buddy. Like ever since they met, they've been like they've basically stuck together, and they're still working together to this day. Metal Gear Solid.
You want to keep on the helmet? That might help keep bullets from piercing your skull, Snake.
Well, I think that helmet was made specifically for underwater travel, not necessarily bullet protection. I think
it doesn't look like an aquatic helmet.
Well, it has that. It has that
for that long until then.
Well, it has that little breathing apparatus. I forgot its name.
This looks like a great place to put an application in for a Smash Brothers stage.
I wonder.
Yes.
All right, now we're about to meet one of my favorite characters that we talked to in the codec, and I really love this particular exchange we're about to get. Check this out.
Facility. Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
How's that sneaking suit working out?
I'm nice and dry, but it's a little hard to move.
Bear with it. It's designed to prevent hypothermia. This is Alaska, you know.
Take it easy, I'm grateful. If it weren't for your suit and your shot, I would have turned into a popsicle out there.
An anti-freezing peptide, Snake. All of the genome soldiers in this exercise are using it.
I see. I'm relieved to hear that. Already tested, huh? By the way, how's the diversionary operation going? 2 F-16s just took off from Galena and are headed your way. The terrorist radar should have already picked them up.
You know, I gotta say, people are very okay with having literal machines injected into the body.
Hello?
Behind D. Colonel, what's a Russian gunship doing here?
I have no idea. But it looks like our little diversion got their attention. Now's your best chance to slip in unnoticed.
I guess we'll get back to this. So hopefully the F-16s coming our way will be enough to distract this helicopter. Alright, continuing.
There are only 18 hours left until their deadline. You've got to hurry.
There we are.
Wow, you must be crazy to fly a hind in this kind of weather.
Who's that?
Oh.
Oh, sorry. I haven't introduced you two yet. This is Mei Ling. She was assigned to us as our visual and data processing specialist. She designed your codec, as well as your solar...
I love this exchange. Check this out.
Contact
I love this
her
one.
if you have any questions about either of them.
Nice to meet you, Snake. It's an honor to speak to a living legend like yourself. What's wrong?
Nothing. I just didn't expect a world-class designer of military technology to be so... cute.
You're just flattering me.
No, I'm serious.
Hold on.
Well, I know I won't be bored for the next 18 hours.
Come on. I can't believe I'm being hit on by the famous Solid Snake. But I'm surprised. You're very frank.
Sorry, honey, you're gonna lose to Samus.
Both have
I feel like you need to be a little forward if you're gonna go in the business of murdering people.
Sure, though.
I have to. Okay, well, actually, no, I'll wait till it's
No wonder
over.
Samus is the woman for Snake.
She's better with the Doom Marine Drover.
What? Dio, no, the Doom Marine isn't gonna cheat on his wife, is he?
Hold on, let me.
Gene therapy. Make sure you don't let them see you.
First, I want you to infiltrate the disposal site and look for the DARPA chief.
The DARPA chief was injected with the same GPS transmitting nanomachines as you.
I thought people are okay with just being injected with nanomachines these days.
Nanomachines are the future, Joe, as we're going to see throughout this series.
Why is it always nanomachine?
It's like the accept all cookie option on websites. So.
I'm sure that nanomachines being injected into the system could in no way be used badly against someone injected with them.
Well,
You don't
well,
give a
Jova.
certain wealthy man ideas.
Well, Jova, they're like any tool. They can be used for both good and evil.
Strong harmonic resonance, so be careful.
We'll be monitoring your movements by radar, so contact us by codec anytime you want. Got it. I'll call if I'm feeling lonely.
Aww.
Seriously, Snake, we're here to back you up, so call if you need some information or advice. I'm also in charge of your mission data. Contact me if you want me to record your...
As in, save your game.
My frequency is 140.96. It's a dedicated frequency for saving data. Don't forget it.
Remember, except for your binoculars, you're naked. You need to arm yourself with whatever weapons you can find. I remember. First I'm strip searched by Dr. Naomi here, and then all my weapons are taken away. Imagine yourself put in that position.
Well, if you make it back in one piece, maybe I'll let you do a strip search on me.
Oh.
I'll hold you to that, Doctor. By the way, sorry to disappoint you, but I did manage to smuggle out my smokes.
Of course you
How
did.
you do that?
In my stomach. Thanks to the shot you gave me that suppressed my stomach acids.
Cigarettes? How are those?
You have
going
no
down?
idea.
You never know, Mei Ling. Trust me, you never know.
But he is.
All
Not
right.
joking.
All right.
about that.
As a little recap, don't worry, I can recap this later. As a little reminder, in the first Metal Gear game, when you have to escape at the end before everything explodes, there's a timer, and if you smoke the cigarettes, suddenly you're given like a shit ton more time before the fortress explodes. Don't ask me how that works. And
Probably drugs in that cigarette that just made Snake move extra fast.
and in Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, smoking a cigarette makes you change the direction of the wind. Don't ask how that works because, and yes, that's one of the, again, it all boils down to Kojima's unique brand of humor. The cigarettes always do a different thing in each game. It's always something different in every game.
There's one thing I'd like to mention actually, since we were looking at the credits earlier. This game's translator,
Go on.
Yes.
Jeremy Blaustein, he's been working on translating things from Japanese to English since at least Metal Gear Solid. He's also done stuff for Dragon Warrior 7.
Hold on, here we go.
Alan does.
There you go.
He's already dead, mate.
Oh, this one.
Getting the getting out of the way, eh?
Yes.
Stop shooting, he's dead already.
It is being
Gotta make
again.
sure.
Yeah, every game over ends with basically a double tap.
Snake, answer me! Snake! Snake!
Never gets old.
What's wrong? Snake! Snake!
Obvious reasons, that nasally one has never really been remembered as much as the first.
All right, let's restart. Before you continue, let me just mention something quickly. So, aside from basically retaining all the gameplay aspects of Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, this game, of course, does its own refinements. For example, this time, on the radar, you can, aside from seeing where the soldiers are, you can see their field of view, as in their depth perception. So basically, you can always tell how far and where exactly the soldiers are looking to. And the same thing for the cameras. You notice that yellow bit on the radar there? That's a camera, a security camera. So you can tell via the radar where the camera is pointing at, meaning what it can see. So make a good use of the camera. Exactly, Snake. Go on, Dips.
So Jerry Blaustein, he's done some translating for stuff like even the Pokemon anime and some of the movies.
Neat.
All right.
So
Then.
it is kind of interesting, and also Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So it is kind of interesting going from
What is a man?
going from stuff like what is a man
What's a miserable pile of secrets?
to political commentary to Pokemon.
It's interesting.
Yeah, you know, the first two are
it's
both
like how-
Konami.
It's like how some call me Johnny. It's like how some call me Johnny brought up in that Metal Gear Solid video about how Metal Gear can owe a couple of things to Pokemon by complete coincidence.
Yeah, that's an interesting piece of information, this, because I will argue that this, in terms of Japanese games coming to the West, I will argue this is the first example that I'm aware of, at least, to have an overall stellar localization job. Because remember, it's not just the fact that the translation is fantastic, so much so that even later games reference direct lines from this translation and everything. The voice acting, remember, voice acting back in these days in video games was, to put it mildly, very hit and miss. More miss than hit, let's face it.
Yeah.
There were good examples of voice acting before this in games, but not many, let's face it.
Keep in mind, in regards to the localization, keep in mind, nowadays we have the luxury of having, Metal Gear Solid Free HD, which provides English translations for Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2. Now Metal Gear 1 we already had. However, with Metal Gear 2, on the other hand, though, that one was actually Japanese exclusive for quite a bit of time, believe it or not.
Yeah, the original... Sorry. Oh, go on.
For the point where this game, this was actually the first way that people who were, in English-speaking places or whatnot would know about the story of Metal Gear 2's Solid Snake. And mind you, it is integral to this story here.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, okay, if you had never played it, you could always just go off the assumption that, Big Boss actually did really die in Metal Gear 1 if you don't read the recap. However, it was quite a miraculous step for them to actually involve the recaps, which, cover the events of these two Metal Gear games.
The only thing I wish that text recap in Metal Gear 1 would have said is that there's a little reference to the after credit scene, because remember, when you play Metal Gear 1, there is an after credit scene that hints at Big Boss's survival, so I really wish they could have.
It makes me wonder, Pedro, do you think Hideo Kojima had that particular retcon in mind all along before Metal Gear Solid 5?
Well, okay.
You know the one.
Yeah, I know the one, but let's talk, like I said, we'll talk about that when we get to that game. The point is...
I'm just wondering if that's the reason why they didn't include that in the recap, because that was always the plan.
Well, we know that we were originally going to get remakes of 1 and 2 after 5 originally, before, shit went to hell, like we know. So maybe those remakes would have been changed to fit with MGS5 and become the proper canon versions. But again, we don't know what could have been done, so it's only speculation at this point. Anyway, yes. Another refinement from Metal Gear 2 is that the soldiers in this game are much dangerous. Why? Because they'll detect sound. Not only will detect sounds like in the previous game, in this game, when you're in the snow, you leave footprints, and if soldiers see them, they'll start looking for you.
I do. Okay, there's one thing I do like about Twin Snakes. I do like the additional things you can do with the soldiers in that game.
Well, they took stuff from Metal Gear Solid 2, but hold on, we'll get to it.
Generating electricity requires oxygen. There must be exhaust openings for that too. You're not gonna believe this.
You know what
They
this
shot
means?
down the F-16s we were using as a diversion with a Hind D. Then we got a message from Liquid. He said if we try something like that again, he'll launch the nuke. Snake, hurry up and get in there. That Hind will be coming back soon.
A helicopter took down 2 jets. That means it's serious business.
Well, at least it was long enough for us to be able to get to this point, so
But
let's
yeah,
go.
so that means that Snake has to vent.
Alright. Yeah. Another. So yeah, we have that. We have to remind ourselves that this game came out in the late 90s. So of course, obviously, there's going to be some outdated aspects to them. But call. This is actually kind of important. Go on.
Snake,
Oh, look at that! It's Master Miller from the
Hey, McDonald Miller.
from the previous game.
I quit being a drill instructor, so I moved out here for some peace
Hey.
and quiet. I'm in
That's
retirement
what Robin
just
Akin
like
does.
you. Once in a while, I still help
Nope.
train the Alaskan Scouts, passing on the skills.
Sounds
of
like
the
Simba from Lion King.
Campbell told me
TV
about the
show.
situation here. I thought I might be of some.
And Kingdom Hearts. Didn't he also voice
Yeah.
Simba in the Kingdom Hearts 2?
I know
Yeah.
lots
Okay.
about survival in a harsh environment. I've lived in Alaska longer than you, so call me if you have any questions about the flora or fauna out here. My frequency is 141.
Okay, so yeah, like he said, if you need help regarding anything involving the fauna and flora of this place, you can ask Master Miller. Hey, Campbell, some help here?
Snake, when you enter a narrow space.
Oh, by the way,
you
Campbell,
automatically go into
McDonald
intrusion
Miller
mode.
is helping us out. Just wanted to let you know.
He knows.
What Snake should have said.
You can also press right or left to face either direction. Advance while hiding yourself. Pay attention to the enemy's actions and make sure you're not discovered.
But be careful. You can't attack while you're in intrusion mode either.
And even if you go into intrusion mode while you're being chased, the enemy's grenades will still follow you.
Not like they would just magically
First, you have
go
to
away.
find the DARPA chief. Look for clues.
Okay, then. Alright, let's continue then.
Basically, intrusion mode is like your first-person crouch and crawl mode.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's Bruce Willis in one of those ends.
What time are you guys at?
22, 46, 47, 48.
Yeah, I'm a few
28.
seconds behind.
About to start spraying for
I'll go to 2306.
First floor basement ventilation shaft.
Shut those covers as soon as they're done spraying.
All right, dudes,
Also,
get
keep your
ready.
eye on that
24
woman in the
6.
cell.
Yep.
Don't get careless.
Okay, hold on.
3,
Woman
2,
inside.
1, click.
Did something happen?
Yep.
There's an intruder.
Really?
He's already
Oh,
done
shit.
3 people.
He's killed 3 people?
I forget. Does the dialogue change based off of how many guards you've taken out of up to that point?
I seriously thought they would be able to account for how.
No, 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 it's really besides Snake.
Security detail on the chief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that too. Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Yeah.
Someone had. Yeah.
So yeah, there is another intruder, but who could that intruder be?
I mainly asked because the first time I played, I recalled the guard saying something else. Maybe I'm misremembering, like a different number, or who knows? Maybe it's just random for the sake of random
We'll
to
see.
make replays more realistic, the Kojima style.
We'll see. All right, let's continue. We should almost be at the point where we have to drop. In the meantime, yeah, like I said, like the guards are much smarter and more capable in this game compared to Metal Gear 2.
They
So
did mention in the briefing.
yeah, so because remember they're genome soldiers. So oh, look at that! A ration that happens to be floating somewhere here in the vent for no reason. All right,
Yummy.
let's get it. What is it, Colonel? Hold on. Let me first get the ration,
You
Colonel.
were just saving your game there.
Hold on. No, it's because I pressed select not run. It's only in this part that the call works, as you're about to see. Or not? Okay, I missed the opportunity to. Well, whatever. It's just him telling you how to jump off from vents. Whatever. The point is,
Most of these early codecs are just for tutorial.
You press the triangle button. That's basically it. Yes, Colonel.
I'm busy.
Use the elevator to change floors. There should be a cargo elevator that you can take down somewhere around there. Try to find it.
Okay then. All right. Let's see. We have chaff grenades, disable electronics, and we of course. Okay, the chaff grenades are actually very useful. Why? Because they disable electronics. What is one thing that's usually electronic? Security cameras. So yeah, if you find yourself in a place where there's a lot of security cameras and you feel like it would be a tough job to get around them, you can use a chaff grenade to temporarily disable all electronics in the area. So
it's like a prototype of an EMP.
Basically. Alright, so if I remember, this is the part where I'm going to... Yeah.
Don't make too much noise or you'll be spotted. Be careful when you're walking.
Okay, so might as well mention something. On the manual of Metal Gear Solid, it tells you a couple of frequencies that are recommended for you to use. One of them is the one that I'm about to do right now, which leads to one of my personal favorite of Snake's support staff for this mission. And 140, 141, 52. There we go. Natasha Romanenko.
This is Nastasha Romanenko. A pleasure to work with you, Solid Snake.
You're the nuclear specialist that the Colonel mentioned?
That's me. You can ask me anything about nukes that you want. I am also a military analyst, so I have an extensive knowledge of weapon systems as well. They asked me to participate in this operation as a supervisor from the Nuclear Emergency Search Team. I was happy to accept. We must not allow terrorists to get their hands on nuclear weapons of any kind. I hope I can help you to stop them.
You're a tough lady.
Those terrorists are serious about launching a nuclear weapon? The world cannot stand by idly and allow that to happen, and neither can I. Unfortunately, all I can do from here is provide you with information.
Hopefully that'll be enough. Another soldier here wouldn't make a difference anyway. It's good to work with you, Nastasha.
Same here, Snake.
Just hope you don't end up like the last Russian lady I worked with.
She's actually not Russian. We'll talk about her nationality later when we hear her backstory.
Huh. Interesting. The name and accent definitely suggests Russian, but...
Well, okay, the name is a bit weird. It should be Natasha, not Nastasha.
I'm going to keep her actual nationality as a surprise for when she does reveal her backstory.
It can confuse
Watch her turn out to be Canadian.
machines which depend upon
Yeah, another cool thing about Nastasha is that anytime you have any kind of weapon, you can ask her to talk about said weapon or any piece of equipment. So, and the cool thing is that it's not just tutorial stuff. She will even give you some cool military trivia about that piece of equipment. In fact, let's get the stun grenades, see what she has to say about them.
Those are stun grenades. They are often used in sensitive operations such as freeing hostages and that sort of thing. Sometimes they are called flash bangs or sound and flash grenades. They make a big flash and lots of noise, which will disorient.
I can imagine just how much the voice actors must have balked at the size of their paychecks from this game.
Much like Metal Gear 2, the codec is an essential tool for the Metal Gear experience because since like Jova just said, there's a lot of dialogue that was recorded specifically for various things. As a result, the characters feel like genuine people that we can talk to. As right now.
The nuclear weapons disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island was built at the beginning of this century. It was made only to temporarily store the nuclear warheads.
If you forgot, in universe, this is supposed to be 2005.
Dismantle them right away.
They cannot do that. You see, when you dismantle a warhead, you still have nuclear materials that must be stored. At this point, all of the nuclear material storage facilities are way past capacity. But they could not stop dismantling weapons while at the same time pushing Start 2.
So you're telling me that this base was built so they could temporarily avoid being in conflict with Start 2?
Most people think that we live in a safer world now. But with all the dismantled nuclear weapons and waste around, the threat of nuclear terrorism has increased tremendously.
It's ironic, isn't it?
I know, right? Yeah, this is one of the big reasons why Nastasha is one of my favorite characters, because a lot of the military discussion and trivia comes from her.
Nuclear weapons, nuclear reactors, hazardous waste. We are constantly being exposed to plutonium and other radioactive materials. Compared to that, smoking seems not so bad, no?
Smoking will still probably be the thing that kills you, though. Won't that be some sweet
It's more of a
irony?
case of it's a case of war at that point. Who cares?
That's the thing. Imagine if you do survive all the other stuff, but it's the smoking that kills you after all.
1993, Russia and the U.S. reduced their strategic nuclear warheads to between 4,000 and 3,500 warheads each. They completely dismantled all of the
Pedro?
ICBMs.
Nothing. Moving on.
As a result of that, there are over 15,000 dismantled nuclear warheads waiting to be disposed of.
So there you go. Again, remember, Shiro, a question.
Yes.
I'm curious. Let's actually no, we have more trivia from her. So
The warheads are supposed to be dismantled at Pantex or some other dismantling facility, but there are limits to how many warheads they can process. We just do not have the capabilities to dismantle all the warheads that are out there.
back when I was a kid, I would listen to Nastasha all the fucking time because I learned so much as a kid just by hearing her, you know. So it was so Nastasha is one of my favorites because I just love her trivia.
You found out where the DARPA chief is. With his nanomachine transmitter, he should show up as a green dot on your radar when you get close. Try to find him.
All right, let's save the game.
Even the saving process compared to what the average, average
video
game on
game
the PS1 was, is actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Basically, it's saving a record of, much like Nier Automata, disguised by the androids making a backup.
I think that's the term.
I think if I remember correctly, in Nier Automata, it's them making a backup of their
No. What the term I use, diegetic, in a sense of it's something that feels like it's happening in universe.
Yeah. Obviously, that's the whole idea. Question, Shiroi.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious. Okay, so I already told you my story. If I was like for me playing this game when I was like 12, 13, around that age, you know. Let's imagine an alternate timeline where 1999 Shiroi played this game. How do you think she would feel about all the nuclear military trivia?
I was 6.
Well, okay, fine. Okay, fine. Let's give it 5 more years. 12. What about 12-year-old Shiroi, maybe? That was the age that I played the game, so.
Biology was more my interest, so I'd probably not take a lot of this in, to be honest.
Okay, then. Alright. And we got ourselves a SOCOM pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Snake's iconic weapon.
Yes.
But, yeah, I think it's also... Actually, no, we're about to contact Nastasha again soon.
Indeed. Because remember, we have a new piece of equipment. Let's see what Nastasha has to say about it.
Good. You found a SOCOM. That's a Special Operations Command pistol. It's a 45 caliber pistol with plenty of stopping power. It's also equipped with a LAM for nighttime combat. If you hold down the weapon button, you can train the laser sight on the enemy to help you aim. If you find a SOCOM suppressor, you can equip that too. That pistol was designed specifically for use by special forces, so I think it will be useful. Some people find it a little heavy and hard to use, but it shouldn't be a problem for you.
Alright.
Of course.
But I guess it's a good time also to mention this because we just talked about the voice acting. Believe it or not, I'm pretty sure it was basically multiplayer, but this game was actually completely fully voice acted also for my country. It is also the only Metal Gear game that does that because unfortunately the voice acting at the time was kind of very bad, even more worse than the standards that America had. So I get the idea. What I think Konami got the idea from was like, yeah, let's just stick to translating the text and we should be fine, which worked for the better. Again, it's still remembered fondly, and there's like one or two moments which I will point out when they happen, where I do believe that my country's version actually delivers a bit better the voice lines, but overall the experience is just more laughable than anything.
Speaking of voice acting, might as well bring out something about English voice acting in both versions. Dwebs, you and I have talked about the way the voice acting is done in Twin Snakes and how it sounds a bit iffy. One of the particular moments that I will showcase later is actually that little bit that we saw earlier where Mei Ling was like, I can't believe I'm being hit on by the famous Solid Snake. The actress, when she did that line for Twin Snakes, she doesn't sound nearly as good as she did in here.
Yeah, that's the thing though. I can only name a few characters in that remake that sound like they gave a shit. Because to me at least, when it comes to acting in general, the worst you could be for me is not trying.
Well, obviously.
I mean, you get paid a lot of money to just half-ass your acting. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. If I did that at my job, I get sacked.
That's how the world works. Don't like it? Too bad.
And yet actors get away with it. Well, most of the time.
Well, depends on the actor, I think, maybe. Because there are actors who don't get away with it, I will argue.
Snake, use the elevator to move from floor to floor.
Alright, we already know about the elevator, let's go. Well, we already know that... Yes.
Go on.
No, go on, Theo, go on.
Because I was slightly BRB when you... Did you guys mention who is Mei Ling's voice actress by name?
No, go on, please.
Keep my guess. She is actually from Los Angeles, California, but judging by the name and the photo used, I get the idea she might be descent of Central Asia descent, and she's still working to this very day in mostly relatively minor stuff, but she occasionally voices a couple of characters, slightly important characters in there, like in most recently stuff like Final Fantasy Type 0 HD or Ghostwire Tokyo.
Alright.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Might as well mention something. You might have noticed how when I'm on a wall and the camera changes, that it shows Snake's perspective, and of course you see the soldiers there. That's because in this game, another addition that this game brings compared to the previous one is whenever Snake presses against a wall, the camera switches to give it that little bit of a cinematic feel where you can literally see Snake right there on the wall, and behind him the soldiers, basically. So it's a cool little thing. Again, you don't have to, because it only happens if you press against the wall on purpose. So if you don't care for that particular feature, you can ignore it. Again, most of the stuff you'll be doing, the primary tool you'll be using for the stealth will be the radar anyway. Anyway, might as well talk about this particular tunnel. This tunnel is actually a shortcut for outside. So basically, if you want to go back outside for whatever reason, you can use this tunnel. So just thought I'd mention that for a bit. All right, now let's get in. If I remember correctly, now we're going to get into the elevator. Well, actually, no, we'll do that in the next part, actually. Anything else, Theo, before we close?
No. I can mention something else, in another part where not much is happening.
Alright, so... yeah, the elevator. The elevator basically works like you'd expect. Let's just press the correct floor and you go there.
Which floor?
Yes, Colonel? Oh, it's actually Mei Ling.
Look at the radar. It's picking up the DARPA chief. He's the green dot. Hurry and rescue him.
Alright, we have found the DARPA chief. So yeah, in the next part, we save the DARPA chief. Okay, so we're near the DARPA chief. We came here to save 2 people. We already have one right here. Should be smooth sailing from here, right?
Pretty much.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Let's see exactly what in the next part, everybody.
Yeah.
See you then.
Right,
See ya.